California lawmakers held another hearing on the state's effort to prepare for legal fights with President Donald Trump's administration. KCRA 3's Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala explains the takeaways from that hearing and how soon lawmakers could approve the money for those fights.
This is all part of Governor Gavin Newsom's special legislative session that he called days after the election in which President Donald Trump won. Now, today's hearing in the state assembly revolved a lot around the immigration-related money that state lawmakers are considering setting aside. So specifically, today's hearing in the Assembly Budget Committee revolved around two proposals. One would give the California Department of Justice an extra $25 million for those legal fights with the Trump administration. The other would provide $25 million in grants for nonprofits that provide undocumented people with immigration, legal, and support services, especially those who face eviction, domestic violence, and wage theft. Republicans asked Governor Newsom's administration if it could guarantee the funds would not be used to protect criminals from deportation. The administration says that is not what the funds are for.
Obviously, that is not the intent of those dollars. It's not in the intent of the program that are these three existing programs.
Well, hopefully they're not already assisting people with criminal records. And it sounds like to me I'm not sure if is there a check and balance on that already, or do we know, any of these nonprofits have some kind of check and balance to make sure they're not helping criminals stay in this country?
I would have to get back to you on the exact checks and balances that are required through these contracts.
Newsom's administration told lawmakers California won 2/3 of the 123 lawsuits filed against the first Trump administration. This proposal includes funds for a website so the public can track future lawsuits. After the hearing, we caught up with the chairman of this committee, Democratic Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel. He told us he's not worried about how this special session could impact California's relationship with the federal government. President Trump did tell a group of reporters on Saturday night that he acknowledged he and Governor Gavin Newsom had a really good relationship, but that up until recently, it hasn't been that way. The most recent thing in that respect has been the calling of the special legislative session. Do you have any concern that moving forward, California now has a litigation target on its back because of how, the relationship between the two have now changed?
I don't. I think I was talking with someone the other day. The state of Texas, as I understand it, sued the Biden administration 106 times. The Republican Attorney General of Texas bragged about that. But there was never any conversation, never any suggestion that the Biden administration would withhold disaster aid or funding from Texas. Because of course, Americans would never, an American president would never withhold funding from their fellow Americans in their darkest hour. So I'm not worried about that. I was encouraged by the tone of the conversation. I appreciate the president's remarks, and I'm counting on him to deliver to stand by those remarks and deliver for people in Southern California.
We should note California did not do a special legislative session for Trump's first administration in which the state sued the administration 123 times. The governor has said this is necessary in order to prepare for that potential scenario with Trump's second administration. The Assembly, meanwhile, is expected to hold an official vote on these proposals later this week. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA 3 News.
So today's hearing was informational only, meaning the committee did not take a vote.